Hello, folks. I'm Simon Ward from the triathloncoach.com and the Simon Ward Athlete Training Program. Now, this is a video that I've been wanting to do for quite some time. Whenever I put a post on Facebook about this topic, it provokes a lot of discussion. And as you might expect, the opinions are polarized. So the question, which you might have seen on the title, is should triathletes do strength training? Now, personally, it's an unequivocal yes, but actually, the answer is it depends. And the reason it depends, and I know that's very frustrating for a lot of you because coaches always say it depends. It depends on the circumstances. If you come to triathlon from, say, bodybuilding or CrossFit, maybe you don't need to do a reasonable amount of strength training. Maybe you don't need to do any at all because you've got a very resilient, well-conditioned, and well-developed body. And actually, the last thing you need to do is some strength training. If you come from a rugby background where you're probably carrying all that extra muscle and you've done that sport because that was suited your body type, then again, maybe strength training isn't for you. Okay, so there are some caveats to this. However, in general, I would say the answer is yes. And here are 4 reasons that I'm going to give you now. Now, they're not in any order of importance. So here's the first one. And I think actually this is, although I've just said that it's not in order of importance, I actually do think that this is probably the most important thing. For most people, they think of themselves as triathletes and they wonder how something that they do is going to improve their triathlon performance. But for all but the most diligent and time advantaged age group triathletes and professional triathletes, most folks can probably average 8 to 10 hours of training a week. Now, out of a total of 168 available hours in the week, that is less than 10% of all the hours they have over 7 days. All right. For those 168 hours, they're not a triathlete, they're a human being. And so I think the first consideration is you are a human. And maybe we should make our decision based on what's good for human beings rather than what's good for triathletes. Okay. If you're a human being, you're going to get older. There are certain things that happen when you age. When you go past the age of 45, your muscle mass declines. You lose the ability to contract those fast twitch muscle fibers as effectively. Motor units dwindle, and so we can't create power, explosivity, acceleration. Now, perhaps you might think that that's not important if you're a triathlete because you're just going to be going along at a steady pace. But you do need those things, getting up a short, steep incline, whether you're running or cycling, going from a deep water start when you are starting your triathlon. Okay, so there's all sorts of times when you do need power and explosivity and acceleration. So I would say that in terms of retaining that sort of function, engaging in a strength training program is really, really important for you. Other things that happen when we get older, our metabolism slows down. That's often to do with the reduction in muscle mass. We also lose our balance and stability, often due to the loss of muscle mass. So engaging in a strength training program, if you're over the age of 45, should be a very definite thumbs up from every single person out there, whether you're a triathlete or a fitness trainer or just Joe Blogs in the street, right? It's important for you. Okay. Now, what I've also experienced over the years of coaching, and I think you should know by now that I've got plenty of those under the belt, both in terms of years and experiences, wide ranging with a lot of different athletes, is that when a human is healthy and in good general health and condition, that tends to result in better athletes. There isn't very many examples I can share with you where I've found somebody that's not in good health and doesn't have good physical condition actually performs well as an athlete in any sport. So think about human function first. And if that's what you're going to do, then it's a very definite yes. And if that's the only thing you think about, then it's a very definite yes. So let's talk about being an athlete now. Let's say that we've understood that we need to be a healthy human and we need to prepare for our older life, something I'm also prone to talk about. Let's talk about some of the things that you might want to think about as a triathlete. The first thing is injuries. Endurance sports are common for injuries, and in triathlon, it's no different. Now, my friend Alison Rose, who's been on my podcast a lot, has done some data crunching from all of the people that she sees in her clinic. And most of the time, when triathletes come in with injuries, they're injuries that occur below the knee. So generally the knee, the calf, the Achilles, the foot. Okay. 70 to 80% of those injuries come from running. And a lot of those injuries are caused either by inappropriate training, poor technique, or lack of strength. Now, you could say that if you end up with a rotator cuff injury in your shoulder, or you have a problem with your core and your lower back, those are also caused by a lack of strength and the repetitive movements. And if you go to see the physio, what's the first thing she's going to do when she sends you out of there after your first treatment? She's going to give you some exercises to do, often to improve the strength. So if you want to cut out some pain, some frustration, a lot of expense, then you're doing them beforehand, and that's called prehab. So there's another good reason why you should be doing strength training. Now, number 3 is about resilience. Okay. Now, resilience is about having a body that's robust and can withstand all of the things that you throw at it. So if you're intending to train for a long distance race in the future, you're going to have to do a lot of training. But even if you're training for a standard distance or a sprint, you're still probably going to do a lot more training than most people in single sports. And one of the biggest keys to your success is consistency. And consistency is about the ability to turn up for all the sessions that you have planned. Now, sometimes you'll miss them due to work circumstances or life circumstances, but often I see athletes missing sessions because their shoulder's hurting, so they don't want to swim, or their knee's hurting, so they don't want to ride the bike, or their Achilles is hurting, so they don't want to ride the bike, or they don't want to run. So that interrupts consistency, and that's going to interrupt your progress and mean you won't get those race results that you would like as easily. Is going to probably take you a bit longer. So the ability to turn up is paramount, and having a resilient body that withstands and absorbs all of that training and helps you to turn up regularly is really important. So that's number 3. Now, number 4 is all to do with technique and posture. Now, what we see in the pool is that you need to have a strong complex around the shoulder in order to be able to keep your hands and shoulders and arms in the right position in order to perform your swim strokes effectively. When you're on the bike, especially if you're riding in an aero position, although you're resting on the handlebars and you're fixed in position, what I see from a lot of folks is as they get tired, they start to slump a little bit, their head drops, their back rounds. They also start to wobble around and use their core less effectively. And where we really notice the loss of technique for our triathletes, particularly in long races, is at the latter stages of the run. And you can see that they lose the strength and power and spring around the foot and the ankle. So they're just dragging their feet, and that in long distance events, that's called the Ironman shuffle. Their core muscles stop working effectively. So they start to sit into the running stride. They start to sort of hinge at the hips a little bit, and maybe their upper back starts hurting, so they start to drop their head, and they're basically running in a slump form. Now, what happens when you lose technique is that in order to move at the same pace, you have to work harder, but eventually that drains you of energy and you start to slow down. So here's another reason. If you can do enough just to help you maintain your posture and build strength around key joints in order to retain your technique for as long as possible, I'm not suggesting that's going to make you a faster swimmer, biker, or runner, as in being able to run at a higher pace or put out more power on the bike. But what I am suggesting is it may well help you to retain the speed you have for much longer. And that in itself is going to help you have faster performances. All right. So I understand and hear the folks who say there's no direct evidence between going to the gym and doing strength training and it making you a faster triathlete or a runner or whatever sport you choose. But I do think there's a link between being able to hold the pace that you can generate for longer, and that might well have an impact on your overall performances. So I've given you 4 good reasons there why I think you should be doing strength training. It's great for your human function. It's going to help you reduce your injury risk. It's going to improve your resilience and ability to turn up, and it's going to help you maintain technique and posture and possibly improve your overall race times. So the next thing is you just need to get started. Now, I am a strength coach, and if you need help, then I can help you, and I'm going to be doing some of that stuff in future videos. But if you're not near me or you have your own trainer in mind, please make sure that if you're not used to these things, you get some good instruction on how to perform some basic exercises with good technique so you don't make yourself worse and get injured by doing things badly. And that's it. Just get started, do little bits on a regular basis, be consistent, and look forward to the results as you improve your human performance in life and your athletic performance. That's it. All right. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you found at least one useful point out of that. If you've got any comments, please post them in the comments box below. If you've got any questions as well, post them there and I'll make sure I answer them. If you want some more information, you'll find some links below to my podcast guests who I've had on where we talk about this specific subject in relation to triathletes. And if you'd want to get more emails from me about other stuff that I do, please sign up for my newsletter and you'll hear from me 2 or 3 times a week with lots and lots of information about how to improve your health, your performance, and your swim, bike, and run speed. That's it. All the best. I'll see you in another video.